Good morning. Introduction to rivers today. I know you're probably thinking that I've gone a little bit mad because I've currently just got a cabbage leaf on the screen. But this is an amazing introduction to rivers using this cabbage leaf. So hopefully this will all make sense in a couple of minutes. So hopefully you've had a look at the water cycle. So you're kind of aware that as the water cycle happens, rainfall comes into a system and it falls onto the ground and it makes its way back out to the sea. A lot of the ways it does that is via river systems. So this is kind of a mock-up of what we call a drainage basin, which is where the river system happens and operates. So we can almost look at a water cycle on the scale of a river drainage basin. But you'll understand in a second why this really helps to actually explain quite a few big concepts about rivers. So your task for now is to draw a drainage basin and then to label on some of the key features of a drainage basin too. This kind of mimics what a river system would look like. So right down here we have the widest part of our river, and this is where it would kind of enter the sea. So just imagine for a second that we have the sea and the coast down here, and the water has travelled all the way down the river and then comes out of the end of the river, and that water joins the sea. That we call, hopefully you remember from Key Stage 3 anyway, the mouth of the river. Right back at the top of the river, and again it's a shame I couldn't get a complete leaf, I got on with a kind of a bit lopped off the top, but the very beginning point where the first little bit of a river originates and starts is called the source. So up here on this tiny little bit up here where the first little bit of the main river we call the source. So if I kind of label it on over here, and that's simply where the spring where the river begins kind of starts the water running. Then we've got a couple of terms for some of these little tiny streams that end up joining this big main river. So this is our main sort of river that runs through the middle, but you'll notice on any river system, and again on this cabbage leaf, that we have small little bits that run into the main system. So we've got these kind of little streams over here that eventually join into our bigger river. And we have terms for one, the little rivers that join the main river, and two, where tiny little bits of the river meet. So a bit harder to label now. But any of these tiny little streams that join the main river are all called tributaries. And they're just a stream that is part of the river which joins the main part of the river. And then can you see here, there's like a little V shape where two little bits of the river meet. And again, where it meets the main river, there's like a V shape where two little bits of the river meet. But wherever those little dots are, wherever that V shape is, where two bits of the river join, we call a confluence. And the very last key term that you need to know is the edge of a river basin. So this kind of mimics the whole river basin system, and if I kind of pick it up you can just about see that it's kind of got like a curve to it too. Again, kind of mimics real life. But the edge of the actual cabbage leaf, if you imagine that was kind of a line of mountains, because what would happen in real life is that this part of the river up here would be really steep and mountainous near the source of the river, and the bit down by the mouth would be quite flat and quite bland. But this bit up here where we've got these sort of mountainous highlands, essentially this line here is the very edge of where if any water were to fall on this side of the edge, it would end up in this river basin. So it's what we call the watershed. It is the edge of where, when water falls, it ends up in this river. So if you imagine this is kind of a line over here, if water was to fall on this side of the cabbage leaf or this side of the line, water would end up in this river. If it were to fall this side of the cabbage leaf or the watershed line, it would end up in a different river system. I hope that kind of makes sense. So this kind of imaginary dotted line that we have around the whole of our river basin is what we call our watershed. And I guess, shed. I guess it's kind of the boundary of the entire river system, if you like. So that's the first video done. Hope that helps. You now need to go and label your diagram.